Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to dabble into the mystic world of symbolism, astrology, zodiac signs, tarot cards. I know what you're saying. That's black magic, it's voodoo, witchcraft, the whole nine yards. But just imagine if you're 29 years old and you really have gotten really good at this and you understand the concept of the zodiacs, you understand the stars, and you understand the astrological part of it. Today on the show, all the way from New York, by way of the Dominican Republic, Russian name. I probably said this name 5 times before we even started, but I'm going to call her by her nickname, Nunu. She can tell you what her real name is, but welcome to the show, Nunu, and let's get into telling the viewers a little bit about you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me to come on.
First, tell me exactly how to pronounce your name.
Okay, so my name is Anuska. Anuska.
And that's Russian, correct?
Yes, it is Russian. It was supposed to have an H in it, but my mom didn't like the H, so she took it out. It's actually supposed to be Anushka. So,
How did you wind up with that name, a Russian name? You have Russian ties because you're from the Dominican Republic and you're in New York. Did you have any Russian ties? Because it's unusual for somebody from the Dominican Republic to carry a Russian name.
yes, correct. So when I asked my parents about that, they basically told me that I was born in Brooklyn. I only spent a year there, and then we ended up moving. So I don't know anything about Brooklyn, but they had Russian friends, and my mom met a lady who was actually pregnant with somebody who was going to name her child Anuska, and um, the child ended up passing away, and the lady didn't end up having the baby or whatever. So the lady was like, "Oh, since you like the name so much, you should name your child Anuska." Well, Anushka, but my mom didn't like the H, so she took it out, and here I am, Anuska. It means grace. I looked that up.
It's a beautiful name. I've never heard it, but it will always resonate from this moment forward. So
Yeah.
let's get started a little bit. I see a lot of stuff going on in the background, but first, tell me a little bit about your journey. You said because you're 29 years old. Tell me a little bit about your life growing up first before we get into where you at currently.
So my life growing up, my life was good, up to like I was like 13. I had like my dark night of the soul experience when I was 13. And
What
it really,
was it, a new skill that you had?
a dark night of the soul.
What is that?
It's kind of like when you're in an area of your life where it pushes you to break out of what you usually know. Like usually dark night of the soul is like when somebody passes away or when you have to make a drastic, huge change in your life that literally makes you realize that everything that you thought your life was, or the thought your life was going to go, is not that way. So, when you look it up, they're very specific, but I feel like everything is about the higher perspective. So it's just a huge shift that happens in your life that forces you to kind of get out of your comfort zone and kind of like make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and you got to do what's best for you in a situation when everything around you is giving you no's, and there's like no way out. You have to find a way out of the darkness. You have to find the light.
You said you
So
were 13 years old when this happened.
yes.
What in the
Yeah.
hell was you dealing with at 13 years old that you was caught in the dark?
So my parents were going through a divorce at that time, and they kind of put me in the middle of it. And they kind of dragged me through their whole divorce process, which was like between 3 to 5 years. And it was, I have an understanding about it now, right? They were each going through their own thing. They thought that they each were doing the right thing, but I feel like I would have been a good therapist if I would have went, but whenever you do something just for the kids, it's never ends up well. So, they kind of were in competition with each other, and they like kind of like put me in the middle of things. And it's kind of like nobody was trying to hear what I wanted to say. And there was just a lot that happened. I don't really want to get into too much detail about it, but there was a lot that happened that affected me in a negative way. Like I ended up getting depressed. I ended up having anxiety. I ended up like feeling like I didn't have anybody by my side, not even the two people that, were supposed to be there for me. But again, I understand now everything. So, it was really hard for me to kind of, at that age, it was hard for me to feel like everything was going to be fine, because everything was just, it was getting worse and worse and worse at a certain point where I felt like I wanted to just leave. Like I didn't want to be here. I was like, this is impossible. I'm so young. I can't do anything about this. And everything is just getting worse and worse by the time. So I really had to push myself and
What
kind
were,
of like,
what were you more at 13 years old? I can relate to everything you just said. But my question is, at 13 years old, who actually had full custody or joint custody?
so it was my mom at the time. And then me and my mom kind of got into a little kerfuffle. And, she kind of was like, oh, go be with your dad, go stay with your dad. And I was like, okay, fine. Like at that point, my dad was like my favorite person ever. Like I was the oldest, so it was just, I looked exactly like my dad. So he was, I was like, look, you're fine. I'm just going to go over there. Right now, me going over there, this was like right after they split up. So me going over there, my dad was kind of like, oh, like, she's here. So, like, I want you to stay. I want you to stay forever. Like, I don't have any of you guys. Your mom has them. Like, I want you to stay here. And I was like, yeah, but I want to be with my sisters. I've always felt like I was always a guide to my sisters. And I was the oldest. I felt a sense of responsibility for them. And I've never been without my sisters. Like, it's never happened. So, he wanted me to stay there. And, I knew that me and my mom just got into a little argument, and it was just like a little whatever. I knew that it wasn't anything drastic. But again, they were both going through their own stuff, that they weren't able to see how them kind of like, oh, who's right, who's wrong, where did she get to stay, she should stay here, no, was really affecting me, because all I wanted to do was be with my sisters. That's all. I just wanted to be wherever they were at, and I was vocalizing that, and I was saying that. I mean, and nobody was trying to listen. Everybody was just like, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I'm right. And it was just a back and forth, and like
How was your other sisters and brothers handling the conflict between the two? Because you're now at 13 years old, are basically put in an adult situation, and how were your other siblings reacting to this?
Well, they were pretty upset as well. They were really sad a lot of the times. At first, I was able to communicate with them, and then we couldn't communicate anymore. So, it's like I said, it was just getting worse and worse. But they were really sad as well. I honestly we never really sat down and talked about how they experienced it without me. But what I do know is that they were really sad, and I would hear it in their voice when I would talk to them in the beginning, and it was just, they were really dealing with it. Like they weren't in the middle of it like I was. They were just kind of like getting the end parts of it. And I know for a fact that it affected them as well in their own separate way. But I just know that every time I spoke to them, they were sad.
How do you think you became the focal point? Was it because of age? Was it because of power? Was it because they felt like you can be easily influenced? I mean, why was so much emphasis put on you?
That's a good question. And I never thought about that. And I think it's the last one. I feel like it's the last one. I feel like I was easily influenced, because there was a time in my life where I was very gullible, and I was just like, I would just go with whatever it was being said to me at the time, and I was 13. So whatever was being said to me, oh, you can't do this. Oh, this person is bad. And there was a lot of, again, I was put into a messy situation. But yes, I think it was because I was very gullible and I was kind of just willing to go wherever I was being told to go at a
As,
certain point.
as you get older, you're going through school and transitioning from 13 years old. How was this affecting your mental state and your health as you got in your way through high school and junior high?
Um,
That was about the time no, 13, you're in middle school right at 13, right?
mhm.
In high school. What was that journey like still dealing? And how long did this go on?
um, well, it went on until about ninth grade. I would say like, yeah, like the beginning of ninth grade, that's when everything was like smoothed out and I was back with my mom and everything was good. So like ninth grade, that's when everything went back to normal. And the thing is that through this transition, through this time that I was going through this whole situation, I had to become a certain version of myself. And like the old Anuska was gone. That sweet, kind, gentle was gone. Like I had to become this rough skin, this I don't care, this, in it to win it. No, like I was just kind of ruthless in a point because I got to the point where I was so freaking low that I was like, I don't ever want to be here again. And I don't ever want to allow anybody to get me to this point. So I created this, which I feel like we all do. I created this certain persona, or this certain not persona, but like I became a certain person that I needed to be to get myself out of that situation in order to pull through. And that's what I did. And that's how I was able to get through it. But then, you get to a certain point of your life where now everything is changing. You're grown up, you're taking care of yourself, you have a good job, you're fending for yourself, and you don't need that version of yourself anymore. You don't need to be that person anymore because you're not there.
You know,
So that was when my journey started.
who was the person that you became? Who was the character? Who was the persona?
Um, Somebody who didn't care about people's emotions, somebody who didn't care about how an action that I would make would affect somebody else. Somebody who was only caring about what was best for me at that time and not anybody else.
Give me an example of how that. Let's call it the alter ego. How did the alter ego? Give me an example of when the alter ego came into effect for you.
Um, I mean, I know the main one, but there's only like I don't want to go into detail about that just because there's some things that are personal. But I will say that I had to kind of, in order to get myself out of jail, I had to break out. So I had to break some rules. I had to like do certain things to get myself out of a situation that I was being forced to be in. So, I wasn't being honest. I wasn't being truthful. Um, all of that stuff. And that's karma. All of that comes back to you. And I dealt with all of my karma through all of that. And guilt was my karma. I felt so guilty for a very long time, a very long time. And I had to really tell myself, like, I had to do what I had to do in that moment, even though it wasn't, what anyone in the situation wanted, but there was no other way. But anyway, that was just part of my healing journey. That's how I was able to kind of get out of that guilt energy and feeling like I was the worst person in the world for what I did. Um, because I did hurt some people in the process of doing that.
You mentioned the word karma.
Yeah.
How deep are you in the belief of karma?
I feel like karma is very real. She's very active. Karma does not act on time. Karma does not act when you think she's gonna come. Karma is gonna come in the moment that you don't need karma to come. Karma's gonna come when you need to buy that house, when you need to get that car, when you need something, when you need the universe's energy in your space and you haven't been doing good, karma's gonna come. Karma also, in order for you to kind of not create your own karma, you got to walk in your truth and your integrity, which is what I started vowing for once I got into the spiritual journey, that truth and integrity has to be the upfront all the time. but and that means in everything, and everything that you say and everything that you do, the people that you're around, like you have to make sure that you're walking in your truth always. And that starts within you. Like you have to make sure that you can look at everything that you are, those parts of yourself that you don't really like and that could be a little better, and be honest with yourself and work on that. But yeah, I do. I'm a big believer in karma because I experienced her, so she real.
29 years old. What are some of the things? Give me 5 things that you had to work on to elevate your guidance, because it's not an easy process. You just indicated that you got to come clean with yourself and truthful with yourself. So what was the 5 things that you were struggling with before you took this universal leap?
I was struggling with patience. I was very always rushing to do everything, not thinking about what I'm doing. Um, my truth and integrity was the first, not because I lie, but because truth and integrity is not only about you speaking the truth, it's also about you being that. Like you have to be truthful and integrity and everything, and not just say something just to get along or to be all right. I had to put myself in a situation where anything that I go for is a challenge, or I'm getting myself out of my comfort zone. I had to like really push myself to do that. Um, I had to be more compassionate. I had to start caring about other people's feelings and what I say, how it's going to affect people. Because since I was young, I've always been, even when I was in school, like people will always, I always get in trouble for talking too much because I love to talk. And I also like to speak the truth, but it's how you say things. It's not what you're saying, it's how you say it. And I had to learn that as well. And then I also learned that it's the journey, not the destination, and not to have a plan. Like, okay, you want the house, you want the family, you want the whatever. That's great. Have that as a goal, but don't be like, okay, well, the house has to be in California and the family, it has to be 3 kids and the dog. Like, just keep it like open. Allow the universe to come and surprise you, because the universe is full of surprises. And when you're open to anything, that's
the
things
possibility.
become easier.
We was we was talking off camera, and I shared with you my encounter with the mystic arts of the tarot cards. Didn't believe it, like most people. I was skeptical, but I realized that being skeptical isn't the way that we should approach anything that deals with the universe. We have to be open-minded and realize that these things have been going on long before I was born. And if it's part of a story, stories also has truth behind it. When were you introduced to the arts of the tarot card and studying the stars and the zodiac sign? And what relativity does that have in your journey?
So when I was 18, I got into just knowing my zodiac sign, which is an Aries. I'm an Aries sun sign. We're a lot more than our sun sign. It's deeper into that. But at that time, I was just trying to figure out. I found out I was an Aries, and I just wanted to look up what are Aries qualities? What do Aries do? Whatever. I looked it up, and it was like somebody was watching my life, and I was like, okay, hold on. So there's a guide here. Like I feel like astrology is a guide. It's not going to give you all the answers you need. It's not going to pinpoint everything, but it's a guide. And it's a different type of guide that, back in the day it was misused. Everybody misuses things, but so when I found out about that, I was like, okay, so I'm this and I'm that. When you read that, you also find out that, the qualities about yourself that you could be better. And I saw that too. And I'm like, okay, so all of this is very accurate. So it wasn't until like maybe I was 22, maybe 21, where I started realizing that I was in a pattern in my life where I was kind of repeating the same things over and over again. And I had a friend at the time who was into tarot. She watched YouTube all the time, and she was like, "Hey, you should get into this. You love zodiac. Like this is kind of like that." So at first, when I started watching it, I did not think at all that I was going to be a tarot card reader. This wasn't anything. I did not think that I was just interested. I was like, wow, like this really says a lot and it's honest. And it, like, I felt in my soul that it was what I'm supposed to be doing and watching it. And again, when you watch tarot, you have to be very, aware and not just believe everything. You have to be very, you know, precise about what you, in the information you take in. Yeah. And I found out that through the readings that I was watching, it was like, I felt like the universe was guiding me through this person who was reading my tarot cards on as to basically laying out the situation and saying what is happening, what could happen, what are the possibilities. And it was just like, for me, it felt like somebody putting it out there on the table. It just, it made me understand my situation a lot better, and it made me get it a lot better, and it made me feel like I have more control of what's going on. It also made me feel more confident in myself, because a lot of things that they would say would be like, oh yeah, okay, I was doing that, okay, so I am doing this right, okay, good, good, good. Because, you know, the mind and the ego like to, you know, kind of confuse things sometimes and try to help, try to cause you to overthink. So yeah, so that's when I, you know, started. I really just felt like it was helping me. It helped me, and I was like, and then I got to a point where I was watching it all the time, and then I got into meditation. When I got into meditation, that's when my soul was like, you should pick up a deck of cards, and I was like, what? And if it wasn't for meditation, if it wasn't for me being able to open up my consciousness in that way, I would have never picked up a deck, because I was like, me reading tarot, like what? Like it was, you know, but I did it, and I will never, ever, ever go back. And since I picked up my first tarot deck, I promised myself that I was going to work on myself every day and become the best version of myself every day. And so I can guide and help others do the same. Like, and that's how it's been, you know, since I picked up. And that's why I just feel like it's just a good motivational thing for me, at least. And it helps me. So I want to help others too.
How was your tarot cards? Because people will say, "Oh, that's hogwash. All this bullshit." How were you? Do you have to go to school to do tarot cards? What's the education that you need to be a tarot card reader? First question, and then the second question is, just how is this more recreation for an individual versus being precise for the individual, or a ray of hope? Because I think if you're not say down or whatever, but how is tarot cards actually used in a person's life, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so well, first, everybody has free will. Everybody has the right to feel how they feel. You know, I don't ever try to convince anybody. I don't ever try to do nothing. They could feel how they want, right? But I feel like everything is energy. So no, you don't need to go to school for this. This is something that you have to become very aware of your own self, be aware of your own possibilities, and want to help others, want to guide others. Tarot is more of a thing that you use your intuition a lot on. Like you have to be exercising your intuition at a consistent level to be able to open up your soul and your consciousness to understand the cards. And you know, it's for, you know, recreational purposes. It's not, you don't, people, you know, do take it serious and do whatever. I do take this serious. It's not like I'm saying it's a joke, but I feel like this is kind of like a way to guide people, to help people. And I do it by tuning into energy. I'm very spiritual. So, when I started meditating, I realized that I was able to recognize and pick up on energy around me. Like there will be certain times where I would just know things, or I would just feel things, and it's not mine. You know, I'm happy and go lucky and I'm great, and all of a sudden like somebody's next to me and I'm feeling like crap, or, you know, not feeling so hot. And through meditation, I was able to realize that that's just, you know, I'm a life path number 9. You know, again, I'm really into this stuff. So I came here to guide people. I was supposed to come here to be a spiritual teacher, to be a spiritual learner, a spiritual guide towards everyone. And I was supposed to go through things, which I did, so that I could teach others how to do it. And tarot card is just a way of me being able to do that.
You said you're spiritual, and we hear that so much. Explain that to the viewer so they can understand the difference between being spiritual as opposed to religion.
Yes, I do feel like spirituality has been abused. A lot of things, just like religion has been abused, right? I don't go against religion at all because I grew up in a Catholic home. You can't forget, where you came from, but this is how I view it. Religion, it's more strict, it's more rules. It's just like there's, God is one person telling you have to do this, and it's just kind of, it's always felt to me like too restrictive, too, you can't be free, you can't be able to expand and do things, and and if you make a mistake, it's bad. And one thing too, I don't believe in hell. I feel like we are in hell. I feel like this is as bad as it gets, right? With spirituality is more of an internal thing. Spirituality is more of you becoming the best version of yourself, so you could emit that energy to other people. Because it's not about the outside, it's not about who's up there, it's not about who's down there, it's not about who's next to you, it's about you. Everything starts with you, and that spirituality is you making that choice, making that conscious decision to become a better version of yourself, and to really like study yourself. Like that's what I've been doing for the past 6 years, 7 years. I've been studying myself in a point where I'm not judging. I'm like trying to understand why I do certain things. And it's broadening my perception and my consciousness so much. Like I know a lot more about life, and I'm not so stuck in the material world and in this like money, and we gotta, like it's more like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm more like easy going with the flow, because when you're open and you're just so sure of yourself because you've worked on yourself so much, and everything just becomes easier. And I just feel like spirituality is just something that helps you grow as a person, and instead of attacking you for the things that you're doing wrong and that you instead it helps you, why are you doing that? Try to understand, so that because we have to be gentle with ourselves too. We're only human, and we only know so much, and we learn every single day. We also have to be very gentle with ourselves. But I also just feel like religion, for me, is a little too, dot, 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 dot. Like I feel like we're supposed to be a little more free, like
You
so.
mentioned hell on earth. At your age, you don't hear that kind of communication. How did you come up with that philosophy? And then by the fact if that is the philosophy, what do we need to do to change it?
Well, I came up with that philosophy, or that, yeah, I like that word, philosophy. When I was 13, I literally went through the darkest time of my life when I was so young. And I just realized, I'm like, this is, and it's like, this is as worse as it could get. Because once I started looking at my own stuff, and I started realizing that it's our mind, it's our ego. Our mind and our ego try to dictate what we do and tries to tell us, no, this is the way that it has to go, and this is the only way, and da 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 da. But it's not that. I feel like, how can I explain it? It's kind of like, in order to make your life better and get out of the hell situation that is here, you have to want to become a better person. That's it. You have to change something about yourself. Whenever we feel like the universe is like crashing down on us, or it feels like everything is just being horrible, it's just the universe trying to get your attention. Like, hey, something's wrong here. The only way that humans learn is through pain, is through disappointment, is through being upset, is through all of that. And it's like, a lot of us tend to not want to look at those feelings, right? Not want to look at those emotions because they're not so nice to feel, right? But it's like, you have to push yourself, and you have to push yourself and tell yourself, no, this is going to get better. It's going to get better because I said it's going to get better. And you have to be willing to literally lose everything. You have to be willing to get to the bottom, like to have nothing for you to get out of the, the hell energy, as what we're calling it here. Because everything is perception. Everything is perspective, and but again, it's tough. It's not easy, especially with society trying to dictate and all these rules and trying to, oh, you got to do this, and if you do that, you're wrong, and if you do this, you're wrong. Like, it's not easy, but you have to be I always tell people this on my YouTube, you have to become your best project. That's it. That's it. Become your best project and don't give up on yourself. Like working out. If you're dedicated to going to the gym, you're going to dedicate yourself 5 days, you're going to eat protein, you're going to do da 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 da. Same thing. Make sure that you first, you got to find out the things about yourself that aren't helping you grow, aren't helping you elevate, are keeping you in a comfort zone. Work on those things, because first we got to work on our blocks. Once you work on your blocks, literally the universe brings you everything you need. Like, it's so, I know I'm making it sound a lot simpler than it is, but it's all about persistence, dedication, and you working on becoming the best you so that you could attract that energy, because everything is energy, everything. So
some people might say, we talked about this. My theory is pretty simple. Manifestation creates the law of attraction, and the laws of attraction sometimes comes with that other shoulder that's telling you opposite, but then you have both free wills telling you to put it out there into the universe. I shared with you a friend of mine that first introduced me to those cards, and it was very, how can I say it? Very enlightening to me, because it helped me to create what I have now. So like, you're right, I do believe the universe works in mysterious ways. It took me from one career to another career to the thing, but every one of those journeys had a message to it. And I think that people don't understand the power. Let me rephrase this. I think the universe knocks people on the head so many times that they don't even know they're getting knocked on the head. But what's the correlation? What's the relationship between manifestation and astrological signing and tarot card? Are they one same, or you have to do it in chronological? They all send different messages? Because when you're reading from a tarot card, she would pull out the card and she would read whatever my thing is, shuffle them up, and I think she had several decks. Is what it was.
Yeah, I have a lot. Yeah.
And but is there different messages between what a tarot card would tell me versus my astrological sign, which I was born on the cusp, so I'm Aquarius and Capricorn. I think I'm more Aquarius than I am Capricorn, because I like you, I read the trace. I mean, it was like a blueprint. I'm like, fuck, this is me cold-heartedly. And then you have the art of meditation and manifestation. But then we can't leave out something that you said that was very crucial. You're still dealing with hell on earth that's trying to take all that energy away from you and tell you that none of this is possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But again, that's why I call it hell on earth, because it's not going to be easy. You know, it's not going to be easy. You have to push yourself. I had to look myself in the mirror and say, you need to stop doing this. Self accountability is first key as well. You have to make sure that before you're honest with anybody else, you're honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, it's impossible for you to be honest with anybody else. And that, you know, it takes work, but we signed up for this. You know, we all came down here wanting to become a better version of ourselves, and we can't allow the structure, the physical structure, to derail us from that. It will try, and it won't stop. That's what this environment was made for. But we have enough willpower within ourselves to get us through that. We do. You just have to find it, and that's not an easy process. But you can't give up on finding it, and you will find it if you promise yourself, after watching this or listening to this, that you are going to work on yourself every day, and you do it every day, and you don't judge yourself, and you're nice. You will find the answers. Everybody's path is different, but consistency is key. And the way that I feel like this all correlates is just like tarot is a tool. So if you're manifesting something and you're seeing that maybe what you're manifesting is not coming into fruition, or maybe you're seeing a lot of delays, tarot is a good tool to use to see what maybe what you could tweak, or maybe you're missing some information, right? It's not going to tell you what information you're missing, but it'll be like, hey, you're missing something. And then you could go back to the drawing board and see what is going on with the manifestation. And then the zodiac translates to that as well, where it's kind of like, I feel like everybody, since we're all different zodiac signs, we all operate off of different energy, right? You said you're a Aquarius and Capricorn, excuse me, cusp. So I'm tapping into astrology right now. You're ruled by Saturn. So rules and restrictions is something that you probably have dealt with a lot. And for you to get manifestations, it might be that it's good for you to be very on point and make a structured plan and have it, be a certain way. For me, I'm an Aries.
So funny you said that, because that's exactly how I move. Like,
that's great.
And it trips people out because they go, why do you work so much? Why do you do it? I said, because it's about structure. I have to complete the task. If I don't, then I get pissed. So it's like,
but you're also a very good teacher because of that too. Saturn is also a very good teacher.
So. Well, thank you. Yeah. And I'm 100% with what you do. I love it, because if it wasn't for someone bringing the TerraCore to my attention, it navigated me to where I'm at right now. It wasn't the master tool, but I looked at it and was like, okay, I'm missing this. How do I go back and do this? And it was like everything just started to almost align like crazy. Now, were there bad parts? Hell yeah, there's gonna be bad parts. You got people that don't want to see. You got people that don't want to see you succeed. But you have to realize that I'm like the Godfather. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Because if I know what my enemies are thinking every day, then I can better have a control on the dog leash a little bit, so to speak.
Good point.
But that said, before we wrap up, you said something that I thought was very interesting. You mentioned free will, and you mentioned we all choose to come down to better ourselves. That's almost like speaking reincarnation, or almost like speaking from the movie, what's the movie with Jamie Foxx? So, where he was the ghost, where he died and came back. He wanted to do something different. He saw his life in front of him, and he came back, and he didn't want it. But his partner didn't want to come back because she hated the earth. She hated the vibration here. So I don't want to go. In other words, I've been here, but I don't want to go back. And he was like, you didn't find what you were looking for there. What's your take on that? Because that's very strange for that to come out of your mouth, that you choose to come back here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe in reincarnation. I believe that this is not our first time here. I absolutely believe that. I feel like this is school. I feel like Earth is like school. One of the most craziest, annoying, difficult schools that there is, right? And we literally, as souls in the spirit world, this is what I believe, right? Us as souls in the spirit world, we're like, okay, so I want to learn to become more compassionate. I want to learn to, become more of someone who is more structured. And, I want to become someone who it doesn't lie as much, right? So we put ourselves in situations. We choose, your soul chooses to put yourself in situations where it is all of those things to show you what you're not. And I feel like we come here over and over again to learn the same lesson until you pass finally. And I also feel like I have a lot of Aquarius in my chart, so I'm like, I think out of the box, and my ideas are always like meh. But I do feel like there are different planets, and I feel like Earth is the hardest one. So I always tell people on my YouTube, like, this is the hardest school, and y'all chose to come here. You guys all said, we're gonna go to that crazy school and we're gonna learn to become better. And it's difficult, clearly, but we all choose this. I definitely feel that there's no way, when you meet somebody and you're like, deja vu, you're like, wow.
Yeah. I told somebody that. They go, well, why you say that? I said, look, Hollywood tells you what's going on. Don't you see the Matrix? Don't you see the movie? What you just said is
Yes,
so the movie sold straight off the bat, where they actually say exactly what you said, word for word. And
I've never. I want to watch that movie now. You said Soul, Soul.
yeah, it's on Disney, man. It's really good. It took me several times to watch it.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh. I thought you were talking about. You're talking about the Disney. I thought you were talking about like a not an animation. Yes, I love that.
yeah.
That's another thing. That's another. They're making a lot of movies that are now kind of showing people spirituality and kind of showing people the other side. I love that movie too. I thought you were talking about. I
Yo,
forgot that Jamie Foxx was the voice.
I love it. We just had Virginia Drake on the show, who had, I think, 7 near-death experience, and we did a 4-part episode with her. She
That's
came in Indianapolis, and her story was
wow.
so profound. And the journeys that she talked about, and the encounters, and the Joan of Arcs, and I mean, to listen to it. And I tell people, when you're talking about something like that, the spiritual or the universe, you have to be open. And it's kind of crazy that um, we've been so cave mentality in our way of thinking, and not being able to think outside the box and realize that with a universe so big, we're just this little speck,
Mm-hmm.
universe that's completely massive and full of knowledge that we have yet to even tap into. With that said, how can the viewers reach out to you and be get your services, maybe get a TerraCore reading, understand their astrological science and what it means, and so forth?
Oh, okay. So you guys can follow me on TikTok and on YouTube. It's New Tarot, one word, NUTAROT. For personal readings, you guys can email me newtarot at AOL. And yeah.
How 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 is this growing? I'm seeing a shift. You know what I'm talking about. I'm seeing a shift. How many,
Mm-hmm.
on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the percentage like on your end? How many people are now starting to become a little bit more open about their way of thinking about the universe, the way they're thinking about manifestation, the way they're thinking about spirituality in general? Because they have to share these things with you as you're reading the tarot cards.
Yes. So I think everybody's aware. I think it's a the thing is resistance.
Right.
That's the main issue, is resistance to what is being shown. And what I'm feeling is that people are just gonna, I like to call it universal slaps. It's just, people are just gonna have to keep getting slapped by the universe. I've gotten slapped a lot of times before. I was like, I'm no more slapped, but I just feel like resistance is a big thing right now, because the universe is shifting everybody. There's not one soul on this planet who is not going through a shift and somewhere in their life. And the shift is so drastic that the ego, the mind, is like, no, what are you doing? Like, we've been doing like this whole time. You can't just change. But this year, the universe, I call this the year of karma. This year, the universe is not playing with anybody. Like, it's like you have to start walking on the path that you're supposed to be walking on. And I feel like the universe is pushing us right now. So the main key is to release control and trust the process, even though it feels like you might be making the wrong move. That's your thought. If you go from your heart space and listen to what you truly want to do deep down, you know the path. It's just your ego wants to stay comfortable. The universe is pushing everybody out of their comfort zone this year. And it started last year around like October, November. That's when the energy was kind of picking up. But this year is like, whoa, like it's so drastic. And I feel like for other people it feels a lot more heavier because of the resistance, because the universe has been trying to tell us, hey, you gotta go this way, but we've been like, yeah, no, we'll do it tomorrow, or yeah, da, 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 da. This year the universe like, y'all doing it this year, y'all gonna do it this year, and y'all gonna learn that this is the best way, and this is the whatever. And
Where's,
like I said,
where's your tarot cards at?
my tarot cards are over there by my tarot deck. Why?
We're gonna do an experiment. Do my cards real quick so the viewers can see you in action before we get out of here. Go read,
Okay.
go read my tarot cards right now.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get to
That's
my
good, bad, or ugly. I'm ready for it.
All right. I'll put you right here for right now. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that it's not the best.
I, I want them to get an idea of what it's actually like and explain to them what you're doing in the process. So she's getting ready to read my tarot cards. This is live. It's not rehearsed. And what
Yes.
you have to do when explain to them what you're about to do for me.
So basically, I'm just going to ask you for your name, and I guess I'll do a question reading for you. I'll just ask you what question you want, and I'll pull some cards. These are tarot cards that just have images on them, and each card means something different. And I'm going to use my intuition to kind of guide you on what the best choice would be for the question that you have.
You're going to ask me how many questions?
I mean, no, like you have to ask me, like, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to ask? Do you want to ask a question? Do you want me to tell you something? Just randomly see what pops up?
You tell me something. I don't want to ask any questions. You tell me whatever.
Okay, so I'll tell you a random thing. Okay, so what's your first name?
Andre the Beast. Great.
All right, Andre. Andre.
Man, you sure you don't work in the casino? Because you're shuffling cards like crazy.
No, it's a lot of practice.
Now, are you meditating as you're doing that? Are you putting energy into it? What are you doing as you shuffle?
Yes, I'm feeling your energy. I'm like saying your name in my mind, and I'm just feeling the energy for when I feel like I need to stop, and then I pull the cards out. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Four of Pentacles. So I'm going to tell you every single card, what each card says, and then I'll tell you what I pick up from the information. Okay. So the first card you have is the Ten of Swords in reverse. Then you have the Death card. And then you have the World in reverse. With the bottom of the deck is the Four of Pentacles. So I feel like there's something here that you are already over. Something has ended here. And I feel like you're over it. But for some reason, you're keeping the door closed or you are energetically holding on to it. You might not physically be having this in your physical space, but energetically, you're still holding on to it. You have the Sun and then you have the Seven of Cups in reverse. I feel like you're holding on to the part that makes you really happy about it. Like, even though this did end, it made you happy though. And maybe because it made you happy, you're kind of like, well, maybe it doesn't have to be completely closed. But with the Seven of Cups in reverse, I feel like you're going to realize that even though this did make you very happy, it is something that has to end. And just because something makes you happy doesn't mean that you have to keep the door open per se or keep it in your space.
Okay.
You want me to keep going? That was like a quick thing.
No,
But I can keep going.
I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay. So then you have the Knight of Wands in reverse, the Strength card, and the Magician in reverse. Okay, so I feel like the universe wants you to know that this energy was very inconsistent with the Knight of Wands in reverse. And I feel like you gained a lot of strength, a lot of confidence through that, because it's kind of like the energy it was inconsistent, and wherever this energy was inconsistent, like you came in and you kind of like, you took charge and you put yourself there, and that created a lot of confidence and a lot of strength within you that I feel like you didn't have prior to this situation. And with the Magician in reverse, I feel like the universe wants you to know that this energy didn't have the best intentions for you. And down the road, like, I feel like you would have seen that. With the Two of Pentacles and the Hierophant, okay, I love the Hierophant card. The Hierophant card is us learning a lesson and embracing that. And then you have the Ace of Wands at the bottom next. So I feel like because you learned this lesson, you will be starting some type of new endeavor or something new that's going to be very exciting for you. You might be kind of like, I don't know if I should do this. Should I not? Let me see why. Page of Swords in reverse, the Lovers in reverse, and the Ace of Swords. Okay, so it might be because you don't have all the information about it. But the thing is that, you could be kind of wanting it to be too much. Like I'm seeing like on paper, like you want it to be all there, like you want all the answers. And the universe is like, this is not something that is going to be physically something that you're going to be able to physically be like, okay, yes, all the ducks are in a row. This is what it is. I'm going to take it, or I'm going to go, or something. It's like you have this clarity that is not physically in your space, or you're going to have it. And they want you to go with that clarity, even if you can't physically see it. Because with the Empress here, you do deserve this.
It's funny you just said that because I'm working on a project right now and I need clarity. I literally told the people that I'm working with, I'm like, look, in order for me to master this, you thinking money. I'm not thinking money. You need to give me clarity. Let's start here first. Show me the process. Then we can move back to the other. But you got that 100%. The project that I'm working on, I have to have complete clarity in order to make it work. Because if not, it can set back. It can set back the projects that I'm working on moving forward. Crazy. You're good.
Thanks.
Somebody might say that's bullshit, right? Somebody might say, well, you kind of just took that information, kind of ran, but you was pretty much spot on spot with a lot of, even from letting things go. There was a particular person that I had to realize may not have my best interests, and had to like move that energy. It's funny because you can feel that negative energy. You can feel it. Be like,
it's loud.
I got to let you go. Well, I'll tell you what, thank you so much in giving a demonstration on how to read. I feel like, hey, use me as an example so people can actually see your work. Ladies and gentlemen.
I will. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you make sure you reach out to her. Tell them once again how they can get in contact with you again.
So my YouTube and my TikTok is New Tarot, NUTAROT. And if you want a personal reading, you can reach me at newtarot@AOL.com.
You know what? Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and taking us down your journey and explaining to us the importance of universal readings and tarot cards and the zodiacs and the whole 9 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.